Iwo Jima, February 19, 1945, 0900 hours on the volcanic beaches of Sulfur Island. A beleaguered Marine platoon, pinned down by hidden Japanese positions in a network of caves, faced annihilation. In the next 30 minutes, Sergeant Thomas Buchanan, armed only with his M1897 trench shotgun and 7 shells, would clear 6 interconnected tunnels, neutralize 15 enemy soldiers, and save his entire squad from certain death. Divisional intelligence would later record this as one of the most effective close-quarters combat operations in Pacific theater history. Question: how did one non-commissioned officer with 1 shotgun accomplish what an entire platoon with rifles and grenades could not? Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Camp Pendleton, California, January 1945. A tactical assessment report lands on a desk at Marine Corps headquarters. Estimate 21,000 Japanese troops entrenched on Iwo Jima. The document is typed on government-issued paper and marked with red stamps declaring its classification level. Outside, winter sun glints off the Pacific Ocean. The thermometer reads 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The war has been raging across the Pacific for over 3 years, but in this corner of the world, the front line still pushes westward, a Japanese stronghold that refuses to surrender. Fleet Marine Force commanded by Lieutenant General Holland Smith directs the 3rd, 4th, and 5th Marine Divisions to secure Iwo Jima, an 8-square-mile volcanic island vital for emergency landings of B-29 bombers returning from Japan. On the American side, the 28th Marine Regiment under Colonel Harry Liversedge spearheads the assault on the western beaches. The terrain is nightmarish, black volcanic sand that swallows men to their knees, sulfuric smells that burn the lungs, steep terraces offering no natural cover, and an enemy that had spent years converting the entire island into an interconnected fortress of bunkers, pillboxes, and fighting positions with interlocking fields of fire. Roads are non-existent, lateral movement is nearly impossible, water supplies are precious. Despite this, divisional logs show approximately 100 tons per day of ammunition shuttled forward via Higgins boats, LVTs, and the backs of exhausted Marines. Sufficient to sustain standard operations, but stretched thin for extraordinary situations. Every shell, every magazine, every canteen must be hand-carried through black sand and under constant sniper fire. The logistics officers work around the clock. The supply sergeants curse the sand, the heat, and the Japanese in that order. Japanese order of battle. Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi commands approximately 21,000 men of the 109th Division and attached naval units. Tasked to defend the island to the last man, their strategy focused on underground warfare from an extensive tunnel system rather than beach defense. Japanese intelligence estimated American forces would suffer 20,000 casualties in what they planned as a war of attrition. Marine Corps planning calculated a 3-day operation. Both were catastrophically wrong. A fragment from the 5th Marine Division War Diary, February 15, 1945, reads, "Morale high despite limited intelligence on enemy positions. Men understand the strategic importance but cannot imagine the hell that waits." The regiment tapped for the western sector had minimal combat experience, yet would be asked to perform as if seasoned.
The contradiction is clear. Fresh troops were fresh, but untested troops were still untested. Yellow Beach 1, February 19, 1945. A morning strength report shows 42 Marines present for Fox Company, 2nd Battalion, 28th Marines. 2 flamethrower teams are operational. 3 Browning automatic rifle teams are attached, but struggle in the loose volcanic ash. The company should number 235 men according to tables of organization. Instead, it is fragmented and scattered across the beach, penned by fire from hidden positions. Thomas Buchanan, born July 12, 1924 in Amarillo, Texas, was rejected by the Army for flat feet, accepted into the Marines during their desperate need for manpower, and blooded at Peleliu. His decorations to date include the Bronze Star and 1 Purple Heart. The 5th Marine Division personnel file notes him as resourceful, quick-thinking, with natural leadership qualities. He is 20 years old. He weighs 175 pounds. He leads with a calm demeanor and a habit of volunteering for the most dangerous assignments. Weapons and loads. Authorized platoon strength is 45. Actual is 23. Each man carries approximately 80 rounds of .30-06 for their M1 Garands, 2 Browning automatic rifles with 20-round magazines, 1 M1919A4 machine gun with limited ammunition due to the difficulty of movement on the beach, and Buchanan's personal weapon, the M1897 trench gun with bead sight and bayonet lug. Communications via SCR-300 radios. The handsets are coated in volcanic dust. The batteries overheat in the sun. The radio operators keep them as clean as possible, but reception is spotty at best. Tables of organization promise cohesion. The reality of amphibious assault delivers fragmentation, confusion, and isolation. Yet the strategic importance requires Fox Company to secure a foothold near the base of Mount Suribachi. The sector is crucial. If the Marines cannot establish a defensible position here, the entire western flank becomes vulnerable. The success of the entire invasion depends on these scattered squads connecting and pushing forward. A combat effectiveness report extract reads, "Decisive in close quarters. Excellent shotgun employment. Buchanan does not hesitate when others freeze. He calculates angles in 3 dimensions and maneuvers through tunnel systems with the confidence of a man who spent his childhood exploring caves. Within 24 hours, these 23 men will face hundreds of Japanese soldiers, hidden in positions prepared over years with no armor support available. The odds are tactically impossible. The mission is strategically essential. The collision is inevitable." Tokyo, Japan, February 1, 1945. A staff officer reviews operational plans. Objective, defense of Iwo Jima to the last man, last bullet. The brushstrokes of Japanese characters are precise and elegant. Outside, snow falls lightly on the Imperial Palace grounds. The war room smells of green tea and cigarette smoke. The maps on the wall show a shrinking Japanese empire. But here, in this room, there is still determination. The orders are clear. The defense will be total. Not one step of retreat is permitted. After a series of devastating island losses, Imperial General Headquarters orders Kurobayashi to implement a radical defensive strategy. No banzai charges, no beach defense, but instead a war of attrition from underground positions targeting soft areas of American advance. Tasking for the 309th Infantry Battalion? Defend the western approach to Suribachi with interconnected tunnel systems, allowing troops to move unseen between firing positions.
The plan is sophisticated. Remain hidden. Let Americans advance past fortified positions. Attack from behind and within. Create confusion and fear through unpredictable fire from seemingly secure areas. Signals intelligence suggests the Americans expect a conventional defense focused on the beaches. In reality, only 20% of Japanese firepower is directed there. The remainder waits inland, underground, patient. A Japanese planning document from January 1945 reads, "Americans depend on firepower and mobility, deny both through tunnel warfare." An Imperial command relay from February 16th states, "No surrender, no retreat, each position to be defended to the last man." The strategy is correct in principle. Underground warfare negates American advantages. It is wrong in application. It fails to account for American adaptability and specialized weapons, technology, and doctrine. Japanese Type 100 submachine guns with 30-round magazines are effective in tunnels, but limited in distribution. Most defenders carry the Type 38 or Type 99 rifle with bayonet, excellent weapons in open ground, but too long for the confined spaces they now defend.
American M1 rifles face the same limitation, but the Marine Corps brings something the Japanese have not encountered, the M1897 trench gun, a weapon born in the close fighting of World War I trenches now repurposed for Pacific tunnel warfare. The Japanese Army in early 1945 is not the Japanese Army of 1941. Equipment is still functional, training is still disciplined, but the quality of troops has declined. Misreading American tactical flexibility invites a defense plan that assumes predictable responses, a dangerous assumption against an enemy that improvises and adapts. The Japanese staff will later file this as a defense against superior numbers. They never expected that advantage to be neutralized by one weapon. Preparing and narrating the story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The operational assumption is that the Marines will attack frontally, be channeled into killing zones, and bleed themselves dry against prepared positions. This assumption will prove catastrophically wrong. The Japanese are about to encounter something that does not fit their calculations, a fighting style and weapon designed specifically to counter their underground advantage. Yellow Beach 1, February 19, 1945, 0845 hours, 93 degrees Fahrenheit, black volcanic sand radiating heat, limited visibility due to smoke and dust. Forward scouts report multiple hidden firing positions along the first terraced slope. At 0900, the sound cuts through the cacophony of battle, the distinctive crack of Nambu machine guns firing from concealed positions. The Japanese defense is springing its trap. Fox Company struggles through the volcanic ash. The M1919A4 machine gun team sets up on what little solid ground they can find. Two fire teams attempt to provide covering fire. One is immediately pinned down by crossfire from a hidden bunker. Radio lines to naval support are established. The SCR-300 radio serves as the lifeline to supporting fire. Ammunition status: Marine 81mm mortar teams are established but have limited visibility on targets. Artillery from offshore cannot identify the hidden positions. Rifle ammunition is plentiful, but the targets are invisible. The men check their weapons, clear black sand from the actions, and seek what little cover the beach offers. 0915 hours, Japanese fire intensifies, concealed machine guns rake the beach.
The effect at point-blank range is devastating. Buchanan pumps the action and continues deeper. He moves methodically, checking corners, listening for movement. The tunnels branch and connect in a complex network. He encounters a third defender emerging from a side passage. Another shot. 4 shells left. The confined space amplifies every sound. The Japanese within the complex realize something is wrong when their comrades don't respond to calls. They begin to move toward the disturbance. Buchanan hears them coming and prepares an ambush at a junction of 2 tunnels. 2 more defenders appear. 2 more shots. 2 shells remaining. Buchanan continues forward, following the main tunnel toward what he believes is another firing position targeting his platoon. The passage narrows further. He has to crouch to proceed. Around the next bend, he comes face to face with a Japanese officer and his radio man. His final 2 shots echo through the complex. 7 shells, 7 defenders neutralized. But the tunnel network continues beyond. Buchanan draws his Kabar knife and continues. Minutes later, he emerges from a different entrance, 30 yards from where he entered. He signals to the stunned Marines on the beach. The firing positions are clear. The way forward is open. A path through the Japanese defenses has been created by one man with 1 shotgun. Post-action assessment, Yellow Beach 1, February 19, 1945. A Marine combat reporter scribbles notes. Sergeant neutralized Japanese tunnel position with shotgun. Open gap in defense. The pencil moves rapidly over water-stained paper. Outside, the battle for Iwo Jima continues. Wounded Marines are being evacuated to offshore medical ships. The fight has barely begun, but a critical foothold has been established. Platoon leaders report tunnel entrance secured and firing positions neutralized, allowing the company to move forward approximately 75 yards to better ground. Attributed to direct close-quarters battle in previously undetected tunnel system. A captured map later reveals an elaborate network designed to channel Americans into interlocking fields of fire.
The discovery is shocking. The tactical implication is clear. Pre-landing estimate. Japanese defense concentrated on beaches with conventional fixed positions. Actual, underground network creating three-dimensional battlefield with defenders able to appear and disappear at will. A Marine intelligence report from February 20th reads, "Enemy tunnel system more extensive than anticipated. Standard tactics ineffective." The language is understated, but the meaning is profound. We were wrong. We are fighting an enemy we cannot see. We need to adapt. Japanese tunnel communications, Iwo Jima, February 19th to 20th, 1945. A junior officer records a hasty field report. American forces employing new close combat weapon. Standard defensive positions compromised. The brushstrokes are uneven, betraying the writer's haste. Outside, the battle rages. Inside the command bunker, wounded soldiers lie on stretchers. The mood is tense but disciplined. The defense has encountered an unexpected variable. The casualties are mounting. The strategy requires adjustment. Battalion leaders report unexpected American penetration of tunnel networks, multiple defensive positions compromised by small teams equipped with special weapons, attributed to short-barreled shotguns capable of devastating effect in confined spaces. A captured document, later translated by Marine intelligence, lists severe casualties in tunnel intersections and defensive positions lost to close-quarter specialists. The numbers are concerning. The tactical reassessment is urgent. Pre-attack assumption. Americans will avoid tunnel systems, allowing defenders to strike from concealment. Actual, Marines adapt tactics, bringing weapons specifically designed for subterranean warfare. A Japanese daily communication from February 20th reads, "Enemy employing special units with scatterguns, tunnel security compromised. Recommend immediate reinforcement of key junctions." The language is technical, but the subtext is clear. We did not anticipate this approach. We are facing weapons we did not prepare for. We must adapt or die. The Japanese Type 100 submachine gun is a capable weapon, but it fires a pistol round. The Marine shotgun fires multiple .33 caliber projectiles simultaneously. The psychological and physical effects are incomparable. The Japanese cannot defend the narrow passages. They cannot withdraw without abandoning the entire defensive concept. They cannot adapt quickly enough to counter this specialized weapon. Misidentification of Marine capabilities drives a defensive crisis. The Japanese commander believes he faces conventional infantry with conventional tactics. He does not yet understand that the Marines have brought weapons specifically evolved for this environment. The divisional assessment will later label this failure to anticipate enemy adaptability, never fully comprehending the deliberate preparation behind what appeared to be improvisation. 28th Marine Regiment Command Post, Iwo Jima, February 20th, 1945, approximately 0600 hours. As dawn breaks over the black sand, Colonel Liversedge reviews overnight reports. The news from Fox Company is unexpected but welcome. Sergeant Buchanan's one-man assault has opened a gap in the Japanese defenses that the entire company could not breach with conventional tactics. "Get me more of those shotguns," Liversedge orders his supply officer, "and find me the men who know how to use them." The order goes out immediately. Within hours, a priority requisition is sent to the supply ships offshore. Maximum available M1897 trench guns with ammunition. Critical tactical necessity. Logistics in motion. The USS Rixey, positioned off Yellow Beach as a hospital ship, begins transferring its small cache of shotguns and ammunition to landing craft. Each shell weighs approximately 1 ounce. Each shotgun weighs approximately 8 pounds. Small in the grand scheme of war material, but suddenly vital to the battle's progress. Supply officers who had questioned the inclusion of these World War I weapons now scramble to distribute them. Medical and tactical assessment. Battalion surgeon entry February 20th. Multiple casualties with standard wounds from rifle and machine gun fire. Japanese defenders appeared to be adapting defensive positions to counter our tactics. Recommendation: accelerate tunnel clearing operations before enemy can reinforce. Buchanan, treated from minor cuts and bruises sustained during his tunnel assault, refuses medical evacuation. He instead requests permission to form a specialized squad focused on tunnel clearing operations. The company commander approves immediately. The work of adaptation continues. Japanese doctrine favors fixed defense and attrition.
American doctrine emphasizes mobility and firepower, neither fully prepared for the three-dimensional chess game of tunnel warfare. But the Marines possess one critical advantage: tactical flexibility and weapons versatility. A 5th Marine Division intelligence note reads, "Enemy tunnel system extensively mapped, specialized clearing teams formed, progress accelerating." The scouts report additional tunnel entrances, carefully camouflaged fighting positions, and evidence of rapid Japanese reinforcement from deeper within the tunnel network. The battle for Iwo Jima's underground has begun in earnest. The initial skirmish is evolving into a systematic campaign. Mount Suribachi Slopes, February 21, 1945. Dawn Patrol moves cautiously up the volcanic ridges, identifying suspected tunnel entrances. The air is thick with sulfur and cordite. Marine shotgunners move in teams of 3, one with the M1897, 2 with carbines or pistols for support. They mark each entrance, each ventilation shaft, each suspected command node. Findings: reconnaissance identifies at least 50 interconnected tunnel entrances on the northern face of Suribachi alone. Many show signs of recent reinforcement. Japanese casualties from previous days' clearing operations evident at multiple locations. Marine casualties minimal among shotgun-equipped teams. A 28th Marine Regiment operational summary reads, "Shotgun teams advancing at 3x rate of standard rifle squads in tunnel environments. Recommend immediate formation of dedicated close-quarter battle units." The language is pragmatic, but the implications are revolutionary. A weapon deemed obsolete by many has suddenly become the key to unlocking a fortress. The patrol evidence supports that the combination of shotguns and small mobile teams fundamentally alters the balance of power in subterranean combat. The Japanese plan required invisibility, concealment, and the initiative of surprise. It is receiving none of these. The defense is becoming visible. The concealed positions are being systematically exposed. The initiative has shifted. With each tunnel section cleared, the regiment gains momentum. The paperwork begins to formalize what began as improvisation. Standard operating procedures for tunnel clearing operations are drafted. Training sessions for new shotgunners are conducted during brief rest periods. What started with 1 sergeant and 7 shells evolves into doctrine within 48 hours. Fleet Marine Force Pacific Headquarters, Guam, February-March 1945. A signals officer transmits operational reports. Specialized weapons showing exceptional results in tunnel clearing operations on Iwo Jima. The message travels thousands of miles of ocean. Within days, supply ships throughout the Pacific begin redistributing shotguns and ammunition from secondary storage to priority cargo. Theater Command validates tactical reports, ammunition expenditures, and casualty differentials. The process is urgent. Every hour saved means lives preserved. The evidence is compelling. Shotgun-equipped teams are suffering 70% fewer casualties than conventional rifle squads when engaging Japanese forces in tunnel systems. On February 25, 1945, a Fleet Marine Force directive states all Pacific operations involving potential tunnel warfare will include dedicated shotgun teams. Training and ammunition allocation adjusted accordingly. The bureaucratic language masks a fundamental shift in tactical approach. What began as one sergeant's desperate gambit is now official doctrine. The directive is not just about weapons. It's about recognizing that warfare in the Pacific has entered a new dimension, literally underground, where conventional weapons and tactics falter. The Japanese strategy of subterranean defense, meant to negate American advantages, has instead sparked an evolution in close-quarters combat that will reshape Marine operations for the remainder of the war. Buchanan's own report is brief. His team's actions are extensively documented. a common pattern where innovators focus on refinement rather than recognition. A 5th Marine Division preliminary assessment from February 26, 1945, reads, "The employment of shotgun teams has fundamentally altered our ability to neutralize enemy tunnel networks, resulting in accelerated advance rates and reduced casualties." The official language is measured, but it captures the essence. One weapon, one technique, and the entire battlefield transforms. The Marine Corps School at Quantico will study Iwo Jima's tunnel warfare for decades. The case will appear in manuals, training programs, and tactical discussions. The question will always be the same. How did we adapt so quickly? The answer will always be the same. Necessity, innovation, and the right tool for the job. Iwo Jima, February 23, 1945. Buchanan's tunnel-clearing team, now formally designated as Close Quarters Battle Team Alpha, prepares for another operation. The men check their weapons, tighten their equipment, and review the latest intelligence on tunnel configurations. They work with the calm efficiency of specialists who have found their niche in the chaos of war. In 5 days, these teams have cleared over 30 major tunnel complexes, neutralized an estimated 200 defenders, and opened multiple avenues of advance that conventional forces could not breach. They have suffered 2 casualties, both wounded, neither killed. The statistical anomaly defies traditional combat models. The explanation lies in the perfect marriage of weapon to environment. An instructional note drafted for new team members reads, "The shotgun creates immediate decision in confined spaces. There is no exchange of fire, only resolution." The principle is not new, but the application is revolutionary in this context. Buchanan did not invent tunnel clearing. He matched existing technology to an unexpected battlefield dimension with perfect clarity. The M1897 was a standard weapon. The 00 buckshot shell was standard ammunition. The technique of close-quarters combat was established. The difference was the recognition that underground warfare required specialized tools and tactics. The Iwo Jima tunnel-clearing template informs small unit tactics, room-clearing procedures, and close-quarters battle training for generations of Marines. Future officers will study this campaign. They will learn that adaptation and specialized equipment can overcome seemingly insurmountable defensive advantages. They will learn that the impossible is often just the unimagined executed with precision. The lesson is not mystique, but methodology. Weapon selection, team composition, and tactical approach, replicable elements in doctrine. Buchanan becomes a case study, not a legend. That is the highest professional tribute. Iwo Jima, February 24th to March 14th, 1945. Operational maps show Japanese defensive zones shrinking daily.
Marine forces link across the island's narrow waist. Japanese units withdraw to the northern sector by early March. The underground fortress is being dismantled, tunnel by tunnel. Aggregate statistics tell the story. Marine casualties below worst-case projections. Japanese resistance fragmented rather than cohesive. The shotgun teams continue their methodical work. The operational significance crystallizes in staff assessments. If the tunnel networks remain intact, the battle becomes a bloody war of attrition lasting months. If the tunnel networks are neutralized, the defense loses coherence. If the defense loses coherence, the entire Japanese strategy collapses. Marine planners had anticipated a 3-week operation. With the acceleration provided by tunnel clearing teams, the main battle concludes in 21 days. A fragment from General Smith's preliminary report, March 10, 1945, reads, "The rapid neutralization of enemy tunnel systems fundamentally altered the operational timeline. What might have been a protracted campaign of attrition became a systematic reduction of defensive capability." The Marine commander understands what happened. The island is secured because the tunnels were cleared. The tunnels were cleared because Buchanan and others like him adapted. A local tactical innovation preserves an operational timeline, reducing total casualties and maintaining momentum for the final campaigns against Japan proper. With Iwo Jima secured, American bombers gain a critical emergency landing field. The strategic significance is immense. B-29 crews now have a refuge when damaged or low on fuel. An estimated 2,400 B-29 crewmen will ultimately owe their lives to emergency landings on this hard-won island. The calculus of war often focuses on the largest movements, divisions, fleets, air forces. But sometimes, the smallest tactical innovations produce the largest strategic effects. Iwo Jima's tunnel clearing is not Guadalcanal. It is not Tarawa. It is not a famous battle within a famous battle, but it is a fulcrum, and on fulcrums the leverage of war pivots. The shotgun's dominance in tunnel warfare opens the way to Mount Suribachi's summit. The iconic flag raising on February 23rd becomes possible because teams like Buchanan's have systematically dismantled the underground defenses that would otherwise have turned the mountain into an impregnable fortress. The famous photograph captures the visible triumph. The invisible victory belongs to the tunnel clearers. Camp Pendleton, California, June 1945. Marine Corps School's Combat Development Center. A training officer pins a diagram labeled Subterranean Combat Operations, Iwo Jima Case Study. The classroom is filled with officers preparing for Operation Olympic, the planned invasion of Japan proper. They listen intently as the instructor details the lessons of underground warfare. Key findings. The M1897 trench gun creates immediate tactical decision in confined spaces with minimal risk to the operator if employed correctly. Small specialized teams achieve better results than larger units when clearing complex tunnel networks. Japanese defensive doctrine has no effective counter to shotgun-equipped Marine fire teams in subterranean environments. These are not secrets. These are principles derived from experience. They can be taught. They can be replicated. They can be institutionalized. Typical Marine infantry success against entrenched Japanese positions without specialized equipment hovers around 40%, with casualty rates approaching 30%. With shotgun teams as the lead element, success rates climb to 80%, with casualty rates below 10%.
The statistical differential is explained by variables: appropriate weapon selection, specialized training, optimized team composition, and tactical discipline. An instructional summary reads, "The right tool in the right hands can neutralize numerical and positional advantage." The principle transcends this specific campaign. It applies to all warfare, in all environments, across all eras. Buchanan and his fellow tunnel clearers did not create new physics. They applied existing capabilities to an emerging challenge with perfect clarity of purpose. The Iwo Jima tunnel warfare template informs the development of close-quarters battle doctrine that will eventually evolve into modern military operations in urban terrain. Generations of Marines will train according to principles first validated in the black volcanic tunnels of Sulfur Island. They will learn that adaptability is more valuable than strength, that specialized capability often trumps mass, that innovation frequently emerges from necessity rather than design. Iwo Jima, February-March 1945. After-action reports document the systematic dismantling of the Japanese underground fortress. Tunnel by tunnel, junction by junction, the defensive network is neutralized. The cost is high. 6,821 Marines killed, more than 19,000 wounded. But the Japanese lose nearly their entire garrison of 21,000. Only 216 are taken prisoner, the rest fight to the death as ordered. The shotgun teams account for a disproportionate share of the success.
With less than 5% of the total Marine force, they neutralize approximately 25% of Japanese defensive positions. Their casualty rate is approximately one-third that of conventional rifle companies engaged in similar operations. The mathematics of tactical innovation are compelling. The operational impact is decisive. A fragment from the 5th Amphibious Corps Summary, March 20, 1945, reads, "Specialized tunnel clearing operations accelerated the reduction of enemy capabilities beyond all projections. Their contribution to the overall success of the operation cannot be overstated." The Corps commander recognizes the significance. What began as improvisation has become doctrine in the span of a month. The adaptation will save thousands of lives in operations yet to come. With Iwo Jima secured, the next decision point shifts to Okinawa, and then to the Japanese home islands themselves. The Americans will land on Okinawa in April. They will face another underground fortress, but this time they will bring purpose-built teams and equipment from the start. The lessons of Iwo Jima will be applied immediately and with devastating effect. The Japanese strategy of underground defense was meant to be their answer to American firepower. Instead, it became the catalyst for American tactical evolution. The trench gun, born in the mud of France in 1918, finds new purpose in the tunnels of the Pacific in 1945. Weapons designed for one war often find their true calling in another. The M1897's moment of perfect application arrives 27 years after its creation. Quantico, Virginia, April 1945. A Marine Corps schools instructor addresses a class of officers bound for the Pacific. "Gentlemen, the trench gun is now reborn as a tunnel gun. Every battalion landing in the Pacific will include specialized close-quarters teams equipped with shotguns and trained in their employment. The Japanese have gone underground. We have found the key to following them there." The class takes notes.
The doctrine is formalized. The adaptation is complete. What began with Sergeant Buchanan and 7 shells has become a cornerstone of Marine Corps small unit tactics. The institutional learning cycle, from individual innovation to formal doctrine, has completed in record time. The urgency of war accelerates what might otherwise take years. Service records, February 19th to March 16th, 1945. Marine Corps official histories credit Buchanan's tunnel-clearing teams with neutralizing 47 major tunnel junctions, capturing 3 Japanese command posts intact with maps and communications equipment, and opening 6 critical avenues of advance that conventional forces could not breach. One sergeant's desperate gambit evolves into a tactical revolution. Popular memory often simplifies. Official records provide context through statistics, maps, ammunition expenditures, casualty reports, and after-action assessments. The romantic version is a lone Marine with a shotgun against an underground army. The documentary version is a tactical innovator recognizing the perfect application of an existing weapon to an emerging challenge. Both versions contain truth. Neither is complete without the other. The case endures in training syllabi and professional literature as an exemplar of tactical adaptation, weapons employment in restricted terrain, and the impact of specialized equipment on operational outcomes. The M1897 trench gun remains in the Marine Corps inventory. The principles of tunnel clearing are still taught. The fundamentals of close-quarters battle are still practiced. Buchanan's innovation on Iwo Jima is still studied at Quantico, at Camp Lejeune, at Marine Corps Combat Development Command. The lesson transcends its specific context. Adaptability outranks strength. Specialization often overcomes mass. The right tool in the right hands can neutralize seemingly insurmountable advantages of position and numbers. Marine Corps Commendation, March 16, 1945. Highlights Buchanan's exceptional initiative and tactical innovation, and notes that his actions established a new standard for subterranean combat operations. Individual action did not win the battle for Iwo Jima, but it altered the operational approach, and by doing so, accelerated the campaign timeline, preserved Marine lives,
and contributed to the neutralization of the most formidable defensive network encountered in the Pacific theater. In a war measured in divisions and fleets, tactical innovation applied by a single sergeant proved decisive in one critical dimension of the battlefield. That is the measure. That is the legacy. That is the enduring lesson of the tunnel clearers.
The adaptation process continues, with new refinements emerging from fresh combat experience. A field modification appears, shotguns equipped with improvised flashlights taped to the barrels. A simple innovation that further increases the effectiveness of tunnel clearing operations. The Marine Corps schools document the technique immediately and distribute guidance to all Pacific units. The cycle of innovation, documentation, distribution, and refinement accelerates. Japanese resistance remains fierce, but their underground advantage has been neutralized. A captured Japanese officer's diary recovered on Okinawa contains a telling observation. The Americans have found an answer to our tunnel strategy. They bring weapons that cannot be defeated in the confined spaces we thought would protect us. We have no counter. The psychological impact is as significant as the tactical effect. The Japanese High Command receives reports from Iwo Jima and Okinawa detailing the American adaptation to underground warfare. The reports trigger a strategic reassessment. If the underground defensive concept has been compromised, the entire defensive plan for the home islands requires revision. The time required for this revision is time Japan does not have. War Department, Washington, D.C., June 1945. A procurement officer reviews requisition increases for shotgun shells. Manufacturing priority elevated to Category A. Production to be maximized immediately. The typewriter keys click rapidly. Outside, summer heat shimmers off the Potomac. Inside, the machinery of war production adjusts to emerging tactical realities. What began as an improvised solution has entered the formal procurement system. Shotgun shell production increases from approximately 300,000 per month in January 1945 to over 1 million per month by June. Winchester and other manufacturers shift production lines to accommodate the surge in demand. The industrial base responds to battlefield innovation with characteristic American productive capacity. The feedback loop between combat experience and industrial support closes rapidly. The procurement documents detail specific requirements. 12-gauge 00 buckshot shells exclusively. Priority shipping to Pacific theater units designated for assault operations. The bureaucratic language masks the human reality. Each shell represents a potential life saved. A Marine who might otherwise face a hidden defender with only a rifle ill-suited to confined spaces. Camp Tarawa, Hawaii, July 1945. Marine units preparing for Operation Olympic, the planned invasion of Kyushu, incorporate tunnel clearing training into their standard preparation. Specialized courses run continuously, producing qualified teams for each battalion. The training is intense and realistic. Underground training facilities replicate Japanese tunnel networks based on captured documents and combat experience. A training directive states, every Marine should understand basic tunnel clearing principles. Specialized teams will lead, but all must be prepared to operate in subterranean environments. The doctrinal evolution is complete. What began as one sergeant's desperate improvisation has become standard knowledge distributed throughout the force. The adaptation cycle, from individual innovation to institutional capability, has completed in less than 6 months. The training emphasizes psychological preparation as much as technical skill. The darkness, confinement, and uncertainty of underground combat create unique stresses. Marines are taught to manage these stresses, to communicate effectively in an environment where visual signals are limited, to maintain orientation when all normal references are absent. The holistic approach reflects lessons paid for in blood on Iwo Jima and Okinawa. An instructor's note reads, "The shotgun creates decision. There is no prolonged firefight in a tunnel. There is only resolution, immediate and final." The brutal calculus of underground combat is addressed directly. There is no romanticizing of this environment. It is perhaps the most demanding form of combat, requiring perfect discipline, immediate decision-making,
and absolute control of fear. The Marines prepare accordingly. Tokyo, Japan, July-August 1945. Imperial General Headquarters reviews defensive preparations for Operation Ketsugo, the defense of the home islands. The reports from Iwo Jima and Okinawa are troubling. The underground defensive strategy that was supposed to bleed the Americans white has been systematically neutralized. The planning staff faces a crisis of doctrine. A staff assessment reads, American forces have developed effective countermeasures to our tunnel warfare strategy. Recommend immediate diversification of defensive approaches. The analysis is correct, but comes too late. The massive tunnel networks already constructed throughout Kyushu cannot be abandoned or substantially modified. The resources and time do not exist. The strategic vulnerability remains. What the Japanese planners cannot know is that their underground fortress strategy has driven an American tactical evolution that will never be fully tested against the home islands. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 will render Operation Olympic unnecessary. The underground battle for Japan will remain theoretical. But the lessons of Iwo Jima and Okinawa have already transformed American close-quarters combat doctrine for decades to come. Camp Pendleton, California, September 1945. As surrender documents are signed aboard the USS Missouri, Marine Corps schools continue refining the lessons of tunnel warfare. The knowledge is too valuable to discard with the end of hostilities. The fundamentals of close-quarters battle transcend the specific context of Pacific Island fighting. They apply to any restricted environment where conventional tactics fail. A training manual draft reads, the principles established during tunnel clearing operations in the Pacific Campaign formed the foundation for all future close-quarters battle doctrine. The institutionalization is complete. What began as adaptation to a specific threat has become fundamental knowledge. Buchanan's desperate innovation has transformed into permanent capability. The shotgun's renaissance extends beyond the Marine Corps. Army units adopt similar techniques for specialized operations. Law enforcement agencies study the tunnel clearing procedures for potential urban applications. What proves effective in war often finds application in peace. The tactical principles migrate across institutional boundaries, evolving with each application. Quantico, Virginia, 1946 to 1950. Marine Corps schools formalize the lessons of tunnel warfare into the first comprehensive close-quarters battle doctrine. The document draws heavily from Iwo Jima and Okinawa experiences.
It establishes team compositions, communication protocols, weapons employment guidelines, and tactical principles that will guide Marines for generations. Buchanan's innovation becomes codified knowledge, available to every Marine who follows. The doctrine acknowledges its origins. The systematic clearing of Japanese tunnel networks in the Pacific campaigns established fundamental principles that apply to all restrictive terrain operations. The academic language masks a simple truth. Desperate innovation on a volcanic island changed how Marines fight in confined spaces. The knowledge transfer is complete. The individual insight has become institutional wisdom. Vietnam, 1966-1972. Marine units encounter extensive tunnel networks in Quang Nam Province and elsewhere. They apply doctrine developed from Iwo Jima experiences, modified for the current environment. Specialized teams equipped with shotguns lead tunnel clearing operations. The fundamental principles remain valid despite the passage of 2 decades and the dramatic difference in terrain and enemy. A 1st Marine Division operational summary from 1968 reads, tunnel clearing teams employing modified Iwo Jima techniques have neutralized enemy underground infrastructure with minimal friendly casualties. The doctrinal thread stretches across time and space, connecting Buchanan's desperate gambit to Marines fighting a different war on different terrain against a different enemy. The tactical principles transcend their specific origin. The shotgun remains the weapon of choice for confined spaces. Now it is the Remington 870 rather than the Winchester M1897, but the tactical application is identical. The technical evolution continues.
Better lights, improved communications, refined tactics, but the fundamental principles established on Iwo Jima remain valid. Innovation becomes tradition. Tradition becomes doctrine. Doctrine saves lives. Marine Corps Combat Development Command, Quantico, Virginia, 1980s-1990s. Close quarters battle doctrine evolves further, incorporating lessons from counterterrorism operations, urban combat experiences, and technological advancements. Yet the core principles first validated in the tunnels of Iwo Jima remain central to the curriculum. The shotgun remains a primary weapon for restrictive terrain. The small team concept endures. A training directive from 1986 states, "The fundamentals of close quarters combat established during Pacific operations form the foundation for all modern CQB doctrine." 4 decades after Iwo Jima, Buchanan's innovation continues to influence how Marines prepare for combat in confined spaces. The knowledge transfer across generations is complete. The tactical principles have become timeless. The Marine Corps Special Operations Training Group refines these principles for emerging threats. The technical details evolve: night vision, enhanced communications, improved weapons. But the conceptual framework remains consistent. The right tool, the right team, the right tactics for the specific environment. The lesson of Iwo Jima distilled to its essence and applied to contemporary challenges. Iraq and Afghanistan, 2003-2021. Marine units encounter complex underground facilities, urban restricted terrain, and confined spaces requiring specialized tactics and equipment.
The doctrinal lineage from Iwo Jima remains visible. Close quarters techniques employed in Fallujah and other urban environments trace their development through a continuous process of refinement dating back to Pacific tunnel clearing operations. A Marine Corps after-action report from Fallujah, 2004, notes, "Modified CQB techniques derived from historical tunnel clearing operations proved highly effective in the urban environment." The doctrinal connection spans 6 decades. The tactical problems differ dramatically, but the fundamental principles of operating in restrictive terrain remain consistent. Buchanan's innovation continues to save lives in conflicts he could never have imagined. The shotgun remains a primary weapon for specific close quarters applications. Now it is the Mossberg 590A1 or Benelli M4, but its tactical purpose is unchanged. The technical evolution continues, but the conceptual application remains consistent. The right tool for the right environment, employed by properly trained operators using sound tactical principles. The lesson of Iwo Jima, distilled and applied across the decades. Marine Corps University, Quantico, Virginia, 2010s-2020s. Advanced urban combat courses study the lineage of close quarters battle doctrine from its origins in Pacific tunnel warfare through its modern applications. The case studies begin with Iwo Jima and trace the evolution of tactics, techniques, and procedures through subsequent conflicts. The historical connection is explicit. The doctrinal development is continuous. An instructor's guide states, "The fundamental principles of CQB were established during Pacific tunnel clearing operations and have evolved through continuous refinement and application." The knowledge transfer across 75 years is complete. What began as desperate innovation in the volcanic tunnels of Iwo Jima has become institutionalized wisdom, preserved and transmitted through formal education, practical training, and combat application. The technical details have evolved dramatically. Modern CQB incorporates technologies that would have seemed like science fiction to Marines in 1945. Thermal imaging, wireless communications, advanced optics. Yet the fundamental principles remain consistent. Specialized weapons for restrictive environments, small team tactics, precision application of force. The tactical DNA from Iwo Jima remains visible in modern doctrine. United States Marine Corps Forces Special Operations Command, 2022.
A training officer delivers a lecture on the historical development of close-quarters battle doctrine. We begin with Iwo Jima, 1945. A sergeant named Buchanan enters a Japanese tunnel with a trench gun and 7 shells. From that desperate moment emerges the foundation of all modern CQB doctrine. The lineage is direct and unbroken. The students take notes. The historical connection is established. The doctrinal evolution is explained. The tactical principles are timeless. What began as individual innovation in the volcanic tunnels of Iwo Jima has become institutionalized wisdom, preserved and transmitted through formal education, practical training, and combat application. The technical details have evolved dramatically. Modern CQB incorporates technologies that would have seemed like science fiction to Marines in 1945. Thermal imaging, wireless communications, advanced optics. Yet the fundamental principles remain consistent. Specialized weapons for restrictive environments, small team tactics, precision application of force. The tactical DNA from Iwo Jima remains visible in modern doctrine. Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton, 2023. A close-quarters battle instructor addresses a new class of Marines. The shotgun remains a primary weapon for restrictive terrain operations because of fundamental ballistic principles that have not changed since 1945. In confined spaces, there is no better tool for immediate tactical decision. The doctrinal continuity spans 78 years. The tactical wisdom endures. The students practice room clearing techniques, tunnel navigation, weapons transitions. They use modern equipment but apply principles first validated on Iwo Jima. The knowledge transfer continues. The tactical wisdom accumulates. The lessons paid for in blood on a volcanic island continue to protect Marines in conflicts yet to come. This is the ultimate legacy of innovation. It transcends its origins and continues to save lives across time. The legend of the tunnel clearers remains alive in Marine Corps culture, not as mythology, but as practical knowledge, not as heroic narrative, but as tactical principle. The Marines who enter the confined spaces of modern combat carry with them the lessons learned by Buchanan and his fellow innovators. They may not know the names or dates, but they apply the principles with every clearing operation they conduct. This is the truest form of honor, not memorials or medals, but the preservation and application of knowledge that continues to protect those who serve. Buchanan's desperate innovation in a volcanic tunnel has saved countless lives across decades of conflict. The tactical principles he validated through necessity have become fundamental doctrine. The knowledge transfer is complete and continues with each new generation of Marines. What began as adaptation to a specific threat has become universal tactical principle. What emerged from the desperation of combat has been refined through systematic analysis and application. What started with one sergeant and one shotgun has evolved into comprehensive doctrine employed by Marines around the world. The institutional learning cycle, from individual innovation to codified knowledge, represents the finest tradition of military adaptation. In an era of technological complexity, the simple lessons of Iwo Jima's tunnel warfare remain valid. The right tool for the right environment, employed by properly trained operators using sound tactical principles. The shotgun's renaissance in the tunnels of the Pacific fundamentally altered how Marines approach close-quarters combat. The doctrinal impact continues to this day, visible in training programs, equipment selection, and operational planning. The Marine Corps' ethos celebrates adaptability as a core virtue. The tunnel clearers of Iwo Jima exemplify this quality in its purest form. Recognizing an emerging challenge, applying existing capabilities in innovative ways, and systematically refining the approach through combat experience. This is not merely history, it is living doctrine that continues to evolve with each application. The story of the shotgun's renaissance is not just about weapons or tactics, it is about the Marine Corps as a learning institution, capable of identifying innovation at the individual level, validating it through combat application, formalizing it into doctrine, and preserving it through systematic education and training. The knowledge cycle is complete and continuous, connecting Buchanan's desperate gambit to Marines operating in restrictive terrain today. What makes this case study particularly valuable is its demonstration that innovation often emerges from necessity rather than design. The formal procurement system had not anticipated the need for World War I trench guns in Pacific tunnel warfare. The Doctrine developers had not foreseen the extensive underground networks that would define Iwo Jima's defense. The innovation emerged organically from the point of contact, for Marines adapting to the realities they faced rather than the war they had prepared to fight.
This pattern of adaptation, from individual innovation to institutional capability, represents the finest tradition of military learning. It is not about technology or resources. It is about recognizing emerging challenges, applying existing capabilities in innovative ways, and systematically incorporating lessons into doctrine. This is how military organizations evolve. This is how they remain effective across changing operational environments. The shotgun's renaissance in Pacific tunnel warfare illustrates a timeless principle. Warfare is fundamentally a contest of adaptation. The side that adapts more effectively to emerging challenges often prevails, regardless of numerical or material advantage. The Japanese underground strategy sought to negate American strengths. The American adaptation to this strategy, embodied in the tunnel clearing teams, neutralized this advantage and accelerated the campaign's conclusion. The legacy of this adaptation extends far beyond Iwo Jima or even the Pacific War. The principles, first validated in volcanic tunnels, continued to influence how Marines operate in restrictive terrain worldwide. The doctrinal lineage is direct and unbroken, connecting Buchanan's desperate innovation to contemporary close-quarters battle techniques employed in urban warfare, counterterrorism operations, and specialized missions. What began as necessity has become tradition. What emerged from combat has been refined through analysis. What started as adaptation has become doctrine. This is the highest form of institutional learning, preserving and transmitting tactical wisdom across generations, ensuring that the lessons paid for in blood are never lost or forgotten. This is the true legacy of the tunnel clearers. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.